Peace everyone, it's Zoha Means Light, and I'm coming to you today to talk about the sacred work, or as I sometimes say, the sacred art of healing. Um, when we think about healing, what does it bring to mind? A wound, a sore, something that is causing immense discomfort that we want to go away. We want it to be resolved. And I talk about healing a lot, and I address this issue a lot because it's my life's work, to disseminate information around healing and to share what I learned. So I'm gonna go over a couple of ideas about healing because I constantly get inboxes about how do I begin the work, where do I start, what books should I read, what should I do, and I want to make this as simple as possible and as clear as possible so that you, those of you who are called to begin your healing journey or who are on your healing journey in any direction, um, can have some assistance. So, what is healing? Again, healing is the sacred art of addressing our wounds. Some of the wounds that we carry are childhood wounds. Some of the wounds we carry are adult wounds. Some of the wounds we carry are past life or karmic wounds. And there's various wounds that we're carrying that bring up different things in our lives. And there's various ways that we can address them and to get to a healing space. I first want to say that healing, while it is work, it is never finished, it is not complete. It is an ongoing process that once we engage in this work, that we will continue to engage in this work throughout our lives. So you may find years where you are doing deep, consistent healing work with yourself, and others where you are not, where you're doing more passive healing work, right? So those are the two types of healing work. There's active healing work, where you're deeply, consistently diving into your trauma, diving into your wounds, and addressing the work head on. And then there's passive healing work, where situations are being presented to you in order for you to learn from, to use the active healing work that you've done to grow in those situations. The first thing I would suggest that people do with their trauma, with their wounds, and their work of healing, the art of healing, is to look at it as a sacred space. Once we define something as sacred, we tend not to allow certain energies to enter that space. So first, you want to create a sense of sacredness for your healing work. Once you figure out what that sacred space looks like, it could be a physical space, it could be a mental space, it could be all of those things combined, you know. So depending on who you are and your needs, you're going to have to create the type of sacred space that works best for you. For example, for me, a sacred space is a group of friends who I feel safe with disclosing my information to, my trauma, my wounds to, and discussing how I'm addressing those wounds. My sacred space for me is my partnership, and acknowledging that my partner is a reflection of the lessons and the trauma that I've come into this world to address, and working those things out there in that sacred space. For me, a sacred space is the spiritual practices that I take on, and how I use those spiritual practices to advance myself and my family and those around me, and to do the work of healing the trauma that has brought us together, and that will help us create the gifts that we came to share in the world. So that's my first suggestion is look around at your space and see how you can make it sacred. So once you decide that you're going to create a sacred healing space for your healing, a sacred space for your healing, then you get to decide how that looks so that you can protect it and uphold it for yourself and those who you wish to share it with. Once I began creating my space of healing for myself and made it sacred, it allowed me to envision myself as sacred and the things that I engaged in as sacred and the people around me as sacred. And when I say sacred, I mean it's holy. Holy. You are holy. You need a space that cannot be touched. Creating a space that cannot be touched or diminished by anything outside of it is vital to healing. You need extreme boundaries when you begin this work. Once you journey to this work, you will realize how precious not only the work is, but how precious you are, how precious your life is, and how precious it is that in this moment in time that you are deciding to do this work. So that's my first tip. Create a sacred space outside of yourself and create a sacred space inside of yourself.